Welcome in to Marvel Friends After Work, a podcast that talks about anything and everything related to the MCU. I'm Casey, and this is Joel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm ready to talk about anything and everything mutants.
Mutants, X-Men, that's what we're here today for. We don't have Nick with us, but today Joel and I are going to cast our very own X-Men cast for what we want to see coming into the MCU. The Fox has already done a live action version, but we're seeing them come into the MCU. We're excited to see them come in the MCU. So before they get established and already cast in the roles, we're gonna do our fan casting or what we're hoping to see. So let's start with the most obvious. We're gonna start off with the character Wolverine, which has kind of already been established for Deadpool 3 with Hugh Jackman coming back to play the role. He played it in the Fox universe live action, but that doesn't mean that's who our Wolverine's going to be for the MCU officially going forward.
If you don't mind, we should recap everybody that's already been in the MCU so far, right?
We should. Do you want to take it?
Okay, so everybody we've seen so far,
you take it.
We've seen Professor Xavier as Patrick Stewart. Who else have we seen? We've seen Beast now.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got the Beast,
Kelsey Grammer. And that's really it as far as the originals, other than, obviously Deadpool and Hugh Jackman through the Deadpool versions of, I guess you haven't seen all the Deadpool movies yet, but you'll see it once you watch the movies. There is a point where he goes back and references some other points, and then you get, McAvoy's.
But technically, they weren't part of the MCU yet.
Right. No one is part of the MCU other than, of course, Patrick Stewart, who got his head snapped, and Beast by Kelsey Grammer, which is the one that they put at the most recent one. Yeah. So, all right. Continue. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but continue.
So we got the Wolverine coming into the MCU. First off, I know you guys probably talked a little bit about this last time, but do you think we're gonna keep this actor for the MCU going forward, or do you think they're actually gonna recast him, or have someone else play the role for our main MCU?
I mean, I think that Wolverine is Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman.
I mean, yeah, agree.
He's played across 6 movies already, about to be a 7th. I don't know who you could possibly replace him with, but if they're going to honor his death at the end of his
Logan?
at the end of Logan, and I don't know. I mean, I have a fan casting, and everybody, I've seen it online. A couple people have thought about it, but I don't know if he has the serious acting chops. I don't know, but Daniel Radcliffe.
He's been the rumored one. Yeah, Harry Potter coming to the MCU. For those of most people know who the X-Men are, particularly Wolverine. But for people who are just getting into the MCU, Wolverine is one of the main X-Men characters. His power is mostly healing, and he has claws, which are the most noticeable, easy way to say about his character. He's really strong, human strength. Wolverine would be more of his what do you say, your superhero name? But I think he mostly goes by Logan. Would have been his other real person name.
Yeah, Wolverine, I think, was given to him by his. He worked for a military installation. They messed with him. They did some adamantium shenanigans with him, but we don't know where we're talking about with this Wolverine. So maybe he just has regular claws, like bone claws sticking out, or maybe he has the adamantium injected into him.
Yeah. But your fan casting is that your pick, Daniel Radcliffe?
Other than Hugh Jackman for forever.
Well, yeah. Besides the fact of he should be playing.
If he wants to retire as playing Wolverine, then I think Daniel Radcliffe would play pretty well. He's actually had some pretty serious roles with a couple other things, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that little Harry Potter could be that much of a jackass. And I mean, that's exactly what Wolverine is in all these comics. Like, even though he's Canadian, he's not a polite Canadian. He's an asshole Canadian.
The Wolverine?
Yeah.
Or I was going to say the Wolverine or Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, no, Wolverine. Yeah, Logan. Yeah. He's a little he's a little bit of an
I
asshole.
think Daniel Radcliffe, I think he like kind of looks the part enough. He looks definitely like a younger version of what Wolverine would be comparatively, but like I don't know. I haven't really seen him act in a lot of things besides Harry Potter, but I don't know if it's his speech pattern or just something about him. I don't really feel like he fits the role. I actually picked somebody else for my fan casting, also from the Harry Potter franchise. I actually picked Jason Isaac. He actually played Mr. Malfoy, so Lucius Malfoy and stuff. If you look at his picture, like if you go on Google and just like search images, right? If you look at his picture, he looks a lot like the animation version of Wolverine. Like his face and just stuff, he kind of has like that rough look. I'd actually pick him to play it over Daniel Radcliffe.
Well, I would challenge you to go back and watch movies like Horns, and there was the Swiss Army Knife Man or something like that. A couple other other roles that Daniel Radcliffe has played,
Because I
and they're
really, yeah, because I
definitely
really haven't
out
seen
of
him
his
play
box. Yeah,
some of those other tougher roles.
specifically in Horns, he's a little bit more of an asshole, which I think
I
you
could
gotta
definitely see
be.
him being an asshole.
You gotta be an asshole if you're gonna be Wolverine. I mean, that's part of his character. That's part of his draw.
Right.
He's the only asshole Canadian. All the rest of them are super nice.
Okay, let's go next to Professor X. So Wolverine and Professor X are like out of like we just talked about, only three of them are kind of already thrown into the MCU mix. Professor X is the other one. This was one I did not have a fan casting for because I couldn't pick anybody. I wasn't sure who to pick. I was thinking about it for a couple days. I never actually settled anyone, so I'm excited to hear what you would pick if you'd pick someone other than Patrick Stewart.
Right. So I
And
want to
not the
see.
younger version, when like in future days
Oh, but I
past,
do
whatever.
want him. I do
Well,
want
you can want
McAvoy.
him, but did you have somebody else? Because obviously he could
No,
probably play the role too.
I don't know. I like Patrick Stewart, and I want him to be the first one that comes back. But I want them to give him a good send off, not just like
The
Wanda
Wanda snapping the
just
neck.
snapping his neck. Yeah, I want him to have
Fair.
like a good send off and to pass something down to the rest of his X-Men in this reality. But I do like McAvoy if they're going to bring somebody back. I think he did a great job from him. I really enjoyed him. Yeah, I can't think of anybody else that I would pick other than McAvoy to play him going forward after they, if they kill him off and there's like multiple realities, I think McAvoy would be the one that I want to see come back in another reality. Right.
Right. No, I think I kind of agreed that. Like I said, I didn't really have another pick. Is it bad that when I was thinking through actors who could play this part, I was like, my brain kept going, it needs to be someone bald. Like it feels
Yeah,
like
it's
Professor
fine. You can
X
put a
needs to
bald
be bald.
you can put a bald cap on anybody, but
It's
they
true. My brain was like, no, they're not bald. They just don't fit the vibe. They need to be bald. It fits the
I mean, I
character.
guess you could pick an actor with alopecia, but then you're just typecasting them. I don't know. I think it's better off to get
Yeah.
somebody with their acting chops and put a bald swimming cap on them instead.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So if you didn't have another one, I guess the next one would have been Magneto.
Did you have anyone else for Professor X? You said no?
No, Professor X I didn't.
Okay.
Besides Patrick Stewart and then the guy who plays the younger version of him, I
McAvoy.
couldn't come
Yep.
up with anybody else.
Okay. So yeah, for Magneto, I really loved Ian McKellen, and it's the same reason that I want that send off for Patrick Stewart to go up. I want Sir Patrick. Is it Sir Patrick Stewart? Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen. I want them both to have their good send offs. I want to see the last version of them, and I want them to bestow their knowledge on the leftover groups. And one is a little more pro mutant, one's a little more understanding. So Professor X has always been that. We need to be understanding of all people, where Magneto's always been more of the brotherhood of mutants. Like, we are mutants, we need to stand together and overcome this. So
do you think we're gonna see Ian McKellen come back for the MCU at
I
all?
would love to see it temporarily, even if just like mentions of them. I mean, all right, so they've got the X-Men 97 that has already been a show run in the 90s. I grew up on it. They're going to bring that back, and I can only think that they're going to remake that to tie it into a storyline, right? So
I kind of think they're bringing it back just to get this generation more
no way. You're completely wrong.
knowledgeable or
No
remind
way.
them of the X-Men or get them excited for it. That's probably
No
more
way.
like logical look at it,
No way.
to be
No way.
honest.
Completely wrong.
It's just not that. It's not that. It's not
Mm-mm.
that. It's totally to add more to the story. You're right. What am I thinking?
But in the 97 series, Xavier basically gets killed, more or less. And you have Magneto step up into his place. So he goes from being the kind of bad guy, Brotherhood of Mutants, extremists, to taking over the X-Men character and trying to raise up these young X-Men, not necessarily as that extremist way that he did before. So I would really love to see that, at least when Ian McKellen signs off. I would like to have that leaving part. But as to replace him, I think Fassbender did a great job playing him in the younger ones. I don't really know who else you'd play for him. I mean, I really like Fassbender for Doom. So if they don't use Fassbender as Magneto, I would love for them to use him as
I kind of
Doom.
like that for him to use him as
He's
Doom.
so good. He's so good.
Well, they could use him as Doom if they choose my fan casting. I actually
Okay.
thought that I'm gonna probably butcher the last name, but Ralph Fiennes, he actually plays Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter series. I think he'd actually do a really good Magneto. He reminds me of Magneto just by his looks.
Is Phoenix like the character from?
No, that's just his last name. So
What's the actor's name? Is that the
Ralph
actor's name?
Fiennes. Yeah,
Okay, what's his character in
he
Harry
plays
Potter?
Lord Voldemort.
Oh, he's Voldemort. Okay.
Yeah,
He who shall not be named. Okay.
yeah. Sorry, my bad. I said it
I don't know what
wrong.
he looks like with a nose though, so that's interesting.
Did you
Didn't
just look him
they?
up?
Didn't they CGI remove his nose? I haven't looked him up. But
You
didn't they
should.
CGI
Wasn't that
remove the
sweet?
nose
I'm
for
not sure what
Voldemort?
they did for the nose. Most villains should not have a nose, apparently, is like the running joke because in most series, like the nose is gone or covered. I guess it makes you look it
Too
detaches
human?
like it dehumanizes you in some way.
Mm,
I think is the word I was
okay.
going for to lose
Okay.
them. But he with his nose, he looks like he would play a really good Magneto. And it'd be
Okay.
different. Because I'd kind of like to see total restart just like with new characters and stuff
Yeah, yeah.
or new actors.
I'm for that. I'm just, as far as ones that we know, these are ones I would cast to come back so
No,
far.
that's fair.
But it seems like most of yours seem to be coming from the Harry Potter lineage so
I
far.
only had a handful that came from those.
Only 5?
Only like 5 out of like
Yeah.
10, so that's not
Yeah.
bad.
No, it's fine. We actually, on the previous podcast, we went on a little bit of a tangent about Star Wars, so it's cool. We can mix all
See,
these fan things
I'm a,
into
I'm a
one.
true heart all the way hardcore Harry Potter fan, so definitely it's gonna be coming through here in some of the actors. Weirdly enough, I think I said back when we did our Fantastic Forecasting, I was like, I think Emma Watson would have been fun as Sue Storm to see her play that.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I think she's a little young for what they're apparently trying to cast
yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
besides, usually when I do the fan cast, I'm not really thinking about the characters all working together because sometimes the age gaps don't work between the
Yeah,
characters or even their ages don't fit with what they're going for. But I think the actor could bring something interesting to the character, is usually all I'm really thinking about when I do
sure.
my fan casting. So after Magneto, let's do Jean Grey.
Jean Grey is my favorite. So I do love what I can't even say her name. Famke Jensen. I do
Mm.
love her portrayal of her up until she became the Phoenix. I didn't enjoy that Phoenix storyline, but that's not her fault, you know. But I think
You mean like in X-Men Last Stand?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That Phoenix
I
part? Because they
yeah,
did the
I think
Dark
she did
Phoenix and
great.
stuff later, and that was a different actor, right?
Not yeah, yeah, yeah. I think she did really well up until that last part where they tried to make her the Phoenix. Um,
That movie struggled
but
just a little.
my favorite fan casting for this, if they just like redo it, I really like Mila Jokovic. Do you know Mila Jokovic?
I might. It depends. I have to see her picture. You
All right,
said
look her
Mila?
up. Mila Jokovic. I'll wait while you Google. But she's been in
Oh.
so many sci-fi movies, and I
Dang, she kind of
really
looks like her.
yeah, she's got those crazy
She
pretty
looks like the
eyes.
original actor. Yeah. No,
Mm.
that's a great pick. She looks like she would fit the part really well. I like that.
I think that's my fan cast for sure. I think she'd be great as the new Jean Grey, especially yeah, especially when if they redo the Phoenix again. If she becomes the Phoenix, I think she'd be a badass. Like the way she
Now,
talks
if
to
I
people.
understand right, the Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix per se, I mean, she's supposed to be the most powerful mutant. And a lot of people argue that she's more powerful than Wanda or the Scarlet Witch anyway, and a lot of issues like that. But when they made the movies, you didn't really get the sense that she was like that powerful.
Right, right. So the Phoenix
I
itself
mean, the
is its
Wolverine
own
killed her, single-handedly. It
right.
was kind of like, okay, well,
The Phoenix
I
Force
mean,
itself
spoiler.
is its own thing, right? So it doesn't it just attaches itself to strong it tends to attach itself to strong mutants, but I guess it doesn't have to be mutants. But
Okay.
it does attach itself to Jean Grey, and that's how you get the Dark Phoenix out of that saga. But it also attaches itself to Cyclops at one point, and he absorbed.
Oh no, I lost you. I have a feeling your computer battery just died. Let's see. And we're back. Technical glitch. So if I have no idea where we just left off. You're talking about the Jean Grey Phoenix Force.
Yes, the Phoenix Force in general. So it doesn't have to be Jean Grey, but the way it kind of goes in the storyline, she's one of the more powerful ones. So it picks onto that. It can literally pick anybody that it wants to. It just attaches itself to whomever is the most powerful force that it can attach itself to. So
Oh,
there's a
okay. Because I
point.
always thought that she was the Dark Phoenix. I didn't realize that she wasn't. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, she absorbs it, gets it, gains it.
Right, but I thought that was like her mutant, kind of like Wanda's the Scarlet Witch. I kind of thought that she
Right, right.
was
It's
like
it's
the
not
Dark Phoenix.
it's not her power per se. It's an
Okay,
outside force that absorbs her or uses her power more or less.
fair enough.
Um, but yeah, like I said, I mean, there's other characters that end up wielding it at some point. Cyclops is one of the ones that absorbs it in at some point.
That would have been interesting
Yeah.
to see.
So,
So
but if
your
you
fan
go
pick,
and watch X-Men '97, there's actually they kind of show you an outside Phoenix Force before it takes hold of
Now
Jean
I'm
Grey.
gonna need to go watch that because after
Yeah,
watching the
you should
Earth's Mightiest
absolutely go watch that.
Heroes, and then I've been on the Ultimate Spider-Man animation series as well, which I'm loving
Okay.
because there's so many like comic book characters coming in, just like a ton of them, and you're learning a lot and getting little snippets of like who all these characters are in a more kid-friendly way. But it's like, so now I want to go
Sure.
watch the X-Men 97 because it's really helping connect dots with the live actions. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh,
So now I gotta go
Earth's
watch the
Mightiest
animation.
Heroes is a no-brainer. They do a great job of tying in a bunch of storylines, but they're not quite comic actor, but they do a good job. So
It gives you an idea of
it gives
what
you
the
an
story
idea,
was.
and watching all those, seeing what the MCU is trying to adapt, it kind of gives you an idea what they're gonna pick with them. But I would definitely go back and revisit that X-Men 97 because they're intentionally continuing X-Men 97 going on. So there's got to be a reason for that. And it's not just to have people like me who grew up on it watching it while eating their cereal in the morning. You know, there's got to be some
There
storyline
has to be
onto
a
it.
reason. There has to be a reason. We're
But it,
MCU dedicated fans. There's a reason for everything.
yeah, but kind of spoiler alert, if you go back and watch X-Men 97, there's a whole lot of plot lines that they could adapt and tie in. One of them is Mount Wundagore, which
Oh, like
is,
Wanda.
yeah. So Wanda
That could be
and
cool.
Quicksilver are both the children of Magneto.
I really
And
want that to be the case. I'd love
yeah,
to see more of that storyline used in the MCU.
yeah. So that would be awesome. So if they just keep adapting that 97 storyline, and especially if they take those characters and make them into live action, I think that'd be super cool. So I mean,
It'd be a lot of fun.
it looks like Wolverine is going to be taking on that same classic yellow and blue that he was wearing in the 97 comic or 97
Animation.
animation series. Yeah, yeah. So I I literally think that's what they're doing. I don't think it's just to make a cartoon. I think it's just to
It's not
continue
just
the
fan service.
storyline.
They're like doing something
Yeah,
with it.
I think they're doing something with it. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. But anyways, what I was getting at is if you go back and watch it, there is the Phoenix saga in that. There's a couple others. There's villains that pop up. Mr. Sinister's one of the main ones that pops up. Apocalypse. So yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see.
Well, I actually had 2 fan castings for my Jean Grey.
Oh,
My people I thought would be fun for the roles, though their ages are drastically different. So again, I was just picking people I thought would be interesting for the character. I thought
okay.
Sadie Sink from Stranger Things, and I think she was in that new movie, The Whales, or something like that was called. She's kind of an upcoming actor, and she's played some really drama type roles. I think she would be a fun mix for that. So I think, but she's a little bit on the young side, like dramatically
Yeah.
comparatively to the other actors. And then the other person was, I'm going to butcher the name. Natalia Tena, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
Mostly I would know her from the Harry Potter series. She played Tonks, but she's played in some other dramatic roles. I think her facial expressions alone, I think she can play a serious Dark Phoenix down the road really well. And those were my
I've
2 picks.
no idea who Tonks is or Natalia Tenix. Is that what you said?
Natalia Tena. I'm
Tenna.
terrible at saying names, so I could be butchering it really, really bad. But
Yeah. I'll have to look that one up. I don't know that one, but Sadie Sink, I do know, and that's the Stranger Things, right?
mhm.
I do
She's
think
been
they
in
have
quite a
things.
few upcoming films and stuff that have been coming out and doing really well in them. And the MCU is really good at picking people who are just starting to come to rise or just starting to be discovered. The MCU usually does the best characters with those actors.
I think you're right. I think she's a great actor to play in the MCU. I don't know if she's right for Jean Grey, but that's because I'm currently thinking of Jean Grey as being a little bit older, like you were saying. So
No, right? Because I
maybe.
do think she's a little young for the part, but I really want her in the MCU, and I don't know how to get
Oh,
her
I
in the
think she'll
MCU.
fit in the MCU, no problem. I think there's plenty of characters for her to play, and I think
I'm
she'll
excited
crush
for
it
her.
no matter what.
Very excited for her to get in the MCU. Okay, let's do. I think next on the list, just written down, I had the Iceman.
Okay.
He didn't have a huge part. Well, I mean, he did. I didn't feel like they used him as well as they could have in the live action Fox that they did. So the original actor was Sean Ashmore. Who would you pick to reprise this role or to take on this role?
So Iceman, his full character arc in the comics, you find out that he is a gay character. So I think he would either need a gay man to play him, or you need somebody with a bunch of versatility around him. I
Wait a
think
minute, but
Joe Keery is actually the one I would pick to play him.
I really want him in the MCU too.
Yeah.
And that's
So
interesting.
Steve Harrington, right? Joe
Yeah.
Keery. I think he could do it. I think he could play it off. Yeah.
Now, I'm just trying to get this straight. Like for the X-Men movies, I watched the first 3.
Oh, not in the movies. Yeah, he doesn't come out in the movies.
Well, right, but like in the first 3, I'd watched them. And then after that, people said like it just gets ridiculous because like everything's out of line, nothing really matches up. It's not like the storyline continues well timeline wise. So the first 3 X-Men movies kind of fit together like as a story. And after that, I just didn't watch them because I heard a lot of people say it wasn't quite worth it. But during those 3 movies I did watch, the Iceman and how do you say it,
Rogue. Yeah.
Rogue, weren't they kind of a thing? So how, like, I'm surprised.
They were a thing, but not a thing. So
Were
if
they that way
you,
in the comics, or is that something they just pulled for the movies? Do you even know?
I don't actually know if that was a thing in the comics, but as far as if you, I don't know how to explain it. Like he couldn't kiss her because he would
Well,
die,
right.
right? So
Technically, by the
he
third
was kind of
movie,
safe dating her. I don't know.
well, yeah, but by the third movie, she spoiler for like a 20-year-old movie, y'all.
Spoiler.
She kind of got that injection to get rid of her powers, though I don't know if her powers came back in later movies, so that way that wouldn't be a problem. I was just curious if, like, in the comics, did they just do that for the movies, or did they actually have a thing like in the comics, and then he went gay later? So I didn't understand that part, but
Yeah, I haven't followed enough of the comics to know for sure, but there just is a point where he comes out in the comics and he's like one of the X-Men that all of the gay community would be like celebrating. They'd be like Iceman and a few others. They'd be like, hell yeah, those people came out,
interesting.
proud of them. Yeah,
Didn't know
but I
about
don't
that.
know. I don't know who could play a gay man confidently in the MCU if they aren't already a gay actor. But I
That
do
is,
think
if they go the gay route, they might not do
if
anything with it.
they got it. I
Well,
would
they
think.
didn't in the Fox universe.
Yeah, but this is not the Fox universe. This is the MCU. I mean, we've already seen Valkyrie and her teasing some bi tendencies and stuff. I don't know, but as far as actors, I think Joe Keery. I think he could pull it off. He's that sweet face guy. I think he would play it off pretty well. And then I don't even think they need to like descriptively say blah, he's a gay character, this. They don't need to show it on screen. I think everybody would know by the way he acts, by the way he plays the character. I think that's kind of the point of it. So yeah.
Well, I
You don't need to see.
chose.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You chose what?
I'm like, I don't need that. For my fan casting, I didn't know anything about that with the character, so
Hmm.
I mean, if they would go that route and choose to do more of the gay route on screen and stuff, like I don't know if this character could do that because I wasn't aware that Iceman was like that in the comics since the movies didn't portray that. I actually picked Dylan O'Brien. He played mostly like in Teen Wolf and stuff like that, and the Maze Runner.
Okay.
I thought he would play a
Okay.
fun Iceman. He has the comedy chops that I feel like Iceman was kind of serious, but he kind of was like sarcastic, a little bit of a character.
Yeah.
I thought he could do a good job pulling it off.
I could still see him doing a good job with that. Yeah. I'll totally see that.
So that was my pick. Let's do this. To me, it was kind of like the second half of the two characters was, I always say the name wrong. So it's Rogue.
Rogue. Yeah. Like you're going rogue.
Going Rogue. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I always like in my mind, like it's just because of the movies, because I haven't done a lot of the comic book work about these characters. So I always kind of assumed that they were kind of like a thing. So when I was thinking about fan casting, I was thinking, okay, what are two characters that could kind of be a thing, like on screen to have a little chemistry? My pick for a rogue was actually Jenna Ortega.
Ooh, okay.
I actually thought that Dylan O'Brien, Jenna Ortega could actually like they would work well on screen playing across from each other.
I think they still would work well playing across from each other until you figure out that Iceman's, just being.
I'm going to pretend that they're not going to go down that path because I liked my vision of this without it being gay. So I'm going to pretend that they're not going down that path.
So I love Jenna Ortega. I think she could play a good rogue. Actually, it's like the only thing that I have blank on my list. I don't have anybody for rogue, so I liked whoever the actress was they had for X2. I can't remember her name.
The person who played it in the first couple movies, Anna Paquin.
Yeah.
She's
I think she did a good job. It's very different from the 97 series though. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe she could crush it as far as the 97 version of her, because I think that's what, like I've said multiple times, I think this is what this all coming down to. They're going to adapt the X-Men 97, and those are going to be the characters that stay into our storyline.
Or they're going to do what I've been assuming all along, and just like What If, the What If aren't just like random like animations. They're actually the other multiverses, and we're going to see in Secret Wars those exact stories just in live action. Like they're building a multiverse animation.
Yeah.
So that's what the X-Men
I'm exactly saying
is.
that. I'm exactly saying what you're saying. Yes, what your theory all along. You said What If. I'm saying 97.
Like these are just other universes that we're gonna see collide, which is like such a genius way.
It's much cheaper to make a new universe if you can animate it.
Oh yeah.
Instead of playing a bunch of actors,
because the universes would be similar, right? Because you'd have like, because even just we saw a Multiverse of Madness, like the worlds are similar. You wouldn't want to make live action similar movies. It'd be a waste of money and time, and the stories wouldn't be that interesting. But to do it all in animation and then bring it all together, it's like, this is genius. Yeah.
And then they can, especially with What If, they can pick and choose between which stories. But with 97, they've already got this great storyline that bleeds from the comics, and you can easily pick and choose where you want to start. Like, it doesn't have to be the full storyline, right? It can start at this point, and then they fraction off whatever. So it could be before the Phoenix shows up. It could be after the Phoenix shows up. It could be because the Phoenix shows up. There's a lot in there. Yeah. But yeah, same idea. Exactly like you were saying. The What If becomes real, multiple realities, live action realities. Same idea. I think 97 is a live action reality. And I think that's why we get the Beast. I think that's why we got Charles Xavier in his little green suit with the striped tie and his little yellow hover chair. That's straight out of 97. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't that? I was thinking the yellow chair. I don't know why. I was thinking the yellow
Okay.
chair was in the original Fox movies, but it wouldn't have
Nope.
been. So I don't know. I must have seen it
Nope.
just from comic books and
Yeah, he was
in the
rolling
animation
around.
series.
He was rolling around in wheels in the other X-Men movies. Yeah.
No, but I would be excited to see Jenna Ortega get into the MCU, and
I like it.
I think she could play this role kind of well.
I like it. I think she could play any role as far as a young level. Yeah. Whether you're an Avenger, an X-Men, yeah, I agree. I think she'd be great for that role, but I think she'd also be good at any other MCU role that they throw her in.
Well, let's jump into the character Storm. She's the one person I actually don't, beside Professor X, I didn't technically have a casting for him. I have no fan cast for this. I really didn't know who to cast for this. I thought about it and I looked through all different casting lists of different movies and trying to like find somebody. I couldn't really pick anybody. So, did you have somebody other than Halle Berry to play this part?
Yes, I had Halle Berry because she was
Great.
the only person who could play it. She still looks super young. She could play it for forever. She's yeah. She's yeah. She doesn't look like she's aged at all since the X-Men.
Me like now
Yeah.
googling it. I'm like, you know what? You're right. She could still play that role.
She looks great. Yeah. And she even dyed her hair within the last 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
Not
White.
stalking her, are you? Oh, white.
I mean, it popped up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It popped up and it was kind of a news thing. And I was like, oh,
Oh, we all know
interesting
why.
look.
She's probably going to be in Deadpool 3.
Yeah. Interesting look. Hmm. Person who played Storm. Why would you copy your haircut? Hmm.
Actually, it's funny, kind of just looking at her. I think it's her eyes in a bunch of these pictures. I could see, like, say that she comes back to kind of establish the character, but say we get a younger version of Storm. Actually, Jenna Ortega could play a younger version of her.
Okay.
I could
Maybe so.
actually see that. Not like
Maybe
a
so.
younger version of it, not like a child version of exactly that person, but she could play like a young Storm.
Yeah. All right.
I think she
The
could do it
only
really well.
the only issue I have with that though is like Storm comes from African background, right? So she's kind of like
Mhm. Yeah, the
she,
roots
she
the roots wouldn't
she
really match.
yeah. I mean, I know that the storylines didn't quite add up to where they uh, date each other and all that stuff, but the basically the Black Panther storyline and Storm's storyline are pretty much both based out of Africa, and they're very
To be
adjacent.
fair though, like if this is a real multiverse and there's different universes, stories are similar, characters are similar, but not everything's exact. So like I mean, Loki's
Maybe.
like a good example of that Sylvie's like a female versus a male. Like that's a dramatic difference for a character. So like I guess you could have different backgrounds too, but it would
Yeah,
take a little bit something away from the character.
I think. Eh, I think keeping Storm coming from out of Africa is a pretty would be important to some people for sure. Yeah.
No, I think it's good for her character and stuff too. And that's who the character is, you know? Like I always make this argument with a lot of like when casting gets done. I think anybody can play any part and that's fine with me. But to me, like these are fictional stories. It's not real. It doesn't exist. And people are like, that means you can do anything, but you don't get it. Somebody made the story up. The only thing that makes the story what it is the plot line and the description of the characters. Like when you're reading a book, that's it. That's
All right.
what's making the story a story. And if you totally change the character, like from the description of the book, you already took away half of what the story was. Like that's
All right.
all that's here. So if they're described this way from this culture or whatever, then we like to honor that is to like keep him with the story. Like that's all there is to this universe or fiction
Right.
is
Right.
what we have
So
written down.
I think the writers did their best to include different cultures from different places at different times. I mean, it's
Right.
not, definitely they might have appropriated cultures at different points and made some mistakes here and there. But I think in general, with Storm's character, I think with her being able to literally bring rain to wherever, I think that
Yeah, it
was
kind
a
of makes
very
sense.
important point. Yeah.
So I think she was like the number one person on the list beside Hugh Jackman that's like, they just have to play the part. Sorry. It's like, you can't remake the character. She's just going to have to play the part. She
Yeah,
needs to have a
he was done.
daughter. Halle Berry needs to have a daughter who could step up and play her role in about 10
Halle
years.
Berry. Halle Berry. Yeah.
Let's
Sorry.
go
If
into
Nick was here, he'd
Cyclops.
dance with me.
I didn't know it. I'm lame like that. I'm too young.
Cyclops.
Let's do Cyclops. Who'd you have for fan casting?
I think it's the younger guy, Ty Sheridan, who played him in the newest movie, newest two versions of the movie. Ty Sheridan. I want to say he was also, that might be the same guy from Ready Player One. If not, they should get the guy from Ready Player One.
Interesting.
Is he the guy from Ready Player One? Since you're doing the research over there,
Let's see real quick.
Ty Sheridan. How many movies?
Yeah, at least it's listed. Yeah, he's the same one as player. Ready Player One.
Yeah. So I think he did great in Ready Player One. I didn't really like the movie Ready Player One, but he did a great job in his spot.
Interesting. Did you like Cyclops in the original X-Men? Did you like the character? Like what they did with it?
No. He was such
I didn't feel like they used it very well.
He was such a bit of a pansy. I don't know. I don't know what the polite way to say that. He was weak, and in the comics, at least, he's a little bit more self-righteous, like a little bit more like Captain America, right? So he knows that he's right. He knows that he's self-right, and he stands up for what he believes in. Where in the first couple X-Men, he's like always like second guessing himself, and he's like, I don't know, blah 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 blah. But I love Jean so much, and it's like, dude, no, that's
his whole character in the X-Men movies was just like his crush on Jane. Like that was it. That's like what they did for the guy.
And I mean, he does have that relationship with her, but I think he's very much more your Captain America of the X-Men. He's not, yeah. He's worried about the goal first. Chest out. I don't think he's gonna come second to it. Yeah, worrying about a girl. Yeah. Except when it comes to him and Logan. That's the best part about him and Logan. And they're like arguing back and forth. In the comics, they're arguing back and forth because they're arguing who's the better man for it. It's like, I'm the stronger man. Yeah, well, I'm actually the stronger man because I'm stronger. You're just the more lethal man. Right?
I kind of felt like the whole time in the Fox movies, he was like, he didn't even really have an argument of why he was better
like,
for
stop
Jane.
hitting on my girl. Stop hitting on my girl. I'm gonna cry.
And he's like, what are you gonna do about it? He's like, I don't have anything I can do about it. And it's like, this is kind of a wimp.
Right. I agree. Yeah, he was way toned down, way too weak in the first X-Men movies. So maybe they could play him out as a badass.
I actually picked for my fan casting, if I butcher the last name again, I'm gonna say that a lot. I'm sorry. Jared Padalecki. He plays Sam on Supernatural. Have you seen that?
Okay.
On Netflix.
I have seen
Sam
Supernatural.
Winchester.
I don't know which one's Sam and which one's
the taller one. I think he's the younger brother.
Which one's more of the asshole of the two?
I believe that's so. I think Dean is the asshole.
All right. Dean is more of the asshole. Okay. All right.
If I haven't watched the show. My sister had watched it, so I hadn't watched it. So I'm trying to
Sam is the pretty boy. Dean is the asshole.
Yes.
Okay.
I kind of think that he would he could do it well. I kind of envisioned the Cyclops being kind of lean and tall, partly just from just plain ass looks, and so I kind of feel like he fits the look of what I would think of when I think of Cyclops.
I kind of like him as that character. So who do you say plays Sam? What's the name of the character?
Okay, so in
The
Supernatural,
name of the
Sam
actor, I mean,
Winchester is the
is played by.
character Jared Padalecki. If I'm not saying the last name
You're
right, I'm
probably
literally
mispronouncing
saying
that.
it to its spelling to a T.
Oh, Padalecki. Yeah, that
Yeah.
actually does look right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I could totally see him being Cyclops, actually. Yep.
And
Nope.
he's funny and
100%
witty and
for it.
sarcastic, and so like he could pull off like whatever they want him to pull out of the character and stuff. So
I'm totally
whatever
for that,
they give us
actually.
will probably be better than what we got in the first couple X-Men movies.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
they just killed him off. It's like you did nothing with the character, and then they just like disintegrated the guy, and I was like, wow, okay. Didn't see that coming. So
Yeah, they didn't do a great storyline multiple times with the whole Phoenix Force. So they wanted you to
I think they were
I
trying
don't
to
know.
bring the seriousness of James Gray's power, and that's why they killed him. But
Right.
it wasn't
The
received that
Phoenix Force.
way.
Again, it's the Phoenix Force power, not necessarily Jean Grey's. It just attaches
True.
itself in one storyline to that, but it hasn't done that yet. Even though we've seen multiple movies where it does attach itself to Jean Grey. Doesn't mean it has to. It probably will. But hopefully we get a new Jean Grey to play it, or they fast track the storyline, or they just adapt the 97 storyline arc as canon, and then you can just skip past most of the Phoenix storyline.
I'd like
it already
them to
saved the
do the
universe.
Phoenix. I kind of want them to do the Phoenix storyline at some point because I find it really cool, and I hope they could do it really well. Though so far, to be honest, even with the Scarlet Witch, I feel like they haven't done the story justice. So I have a feeling that I wouldn't get the story I wanted.
They've tried it
with the
twice
Titans.
already, and they messed it up twice with the Dark Phoenix storyline.
Hey, same thing happened with Fantastic Four. They've tried it twice. That doesn't mean you give
fair
up.
enough. That's totally fair. That's totally fair. Totally fair. Yeah.
Third time
No,
the charm.
I think they could do the Phoenix again, but did they have to use Jean Grey as the Phoenix? That's the thing that I don't think they have to do. So
It'd
if
be
they
fun to have a really cool twist that no one really saw coming for somebody else.
spoiler alert, comes to Cyclops. Cyclops absorbs the Phoenix Force.
That would be fun.
That's what happens.
I'd like
Spoiler
to
alert. Read the comics. That's what happens. He absorbs
to
it.
other people. It could happen to other people too. I mean,
yeah, the Phoenix
Darcy,
Force.
can the Scarlet Witch? Can the Phoenix Force attach itself to the Scarlet Witch?
Yes, and they would probably love to do that, except I think the Scarlet Witch is too corrupted. I don't know why it wouldn't.
It's
right
scared
now,
of it
wouldn't make a lot of sense because they're already building up the Scarlet Witch to be this super powerful being.
If you kind of add the Dark Force, it would kind of feel like it would
Too
diminish
much.
her.
Yeah.
It would be too much. It'd be like, one, how do you stop this? And two, it would kind of diminish the power of the Scarlet Witch because you're building it up to be like, Scarlet Witch is so powerful, but we're also going to add something more powerful on top of it. I don't know.
Right.
Like it's.
I think it'd make more sense for them to give somebody else the Phoenix Force to be able to combat the Scarlet Witch. I think that would make more sense.
How would you like to see Carol Danvers get the Dark Force?
I wouldn't. Too much.
You wouldn't want to see that?
Too powerful.
Too much.
She's already too strong as it is. But she could rock it. I mean, I think she'd just wreck shit with it. She's too powerful as it is right now. Other than the weakest I've ever seen her was singing. Have you seen the movie yet?
No.
Can we talk about the movie yet? Oh my god.
We can talk about it though. To be honest,
No, we're gonna skip over it. Whatever. Never mind. Never mind. What do you think about Beast?
That was weird. That was the next one on my list too. Technically, I know he's already been at least somewhat cast, obviously, for the MCU. If they choose to keep that Beast going forward, I don't know. I'm gonna kind of assume yes. My first casting actually was Gary Oldman. Do you know who
Okay.
he is?
I love Gary Oldman and everything that he's ever played ever before.
I think he could pull off a good Beast personally.
I don't think they should waste him on Beast. I mean, I do love the Beast
No, I
character.
kind of agree with that.
I
Because
think
I don't
Gary
think they're going
Oldman
to
could
use
be
Beast.
Gary Oldman could be like a villain. He could be a hero. He could be both. He could be somewhere in between.
I don't
love
think
that
Beast would be used enough in a sense that I think you'd waste a little bit of the actor on that character, but I think he would do the character really good justice.
So Beast is, at least in the comics, Beast is throughout the Time Runs Out series, but he doesn't really play a role. Like he's just there being a smart guy, saying smart things. Otherwise, he's kind of useless. They just go from scene to scene. They're like, oh, well, Beast said this. And then all the action happens. And then Beast said this little line. All the action happens. So
Fair point.
again, I encourage everybody to go and read the Time Runs Out series before we start getting into it, because I think we're getting into it. But
Me like not writing that down, so I actually remember to go read it.
yeah, I've told you multiple times to go read it. So
I got a very short term memory. I got to write it down every time,
you
so I
you could
see it.
you could read the prelude to Time Runs Out, and Secret Wars all within a month and read it for free if you do that Amazon.
Unlimited.
What did I say it was last time? Amazon Unlimited or
Kindle Unlimited.
Comixology has like a free trial through Amazon. It's Kindle Unlimited. So you could sign up for it and cancel it within a month and do it all for free. But you could listen to all of those. There's also Siege of Asgard. There's a whole bunch of other good stories in there that you could read in a month for free, or subscribe to it if you so wanted to.
We should be getting paid for this, like,
You should be getting paid for it, but
we should get paid for it. We could promote this stuff.
Maybe so.
So
Maybe so. But
if you work for one of those companies, email us.
Hit us up. But the ones you definitely want to read are maybe the Time Runs Out for sure. You got to read Time Runs Out. You'll start off being a little lost, but you'll catch up quick. And then definitely the Secret Wars at the end. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great finale. Okay. None of it makes sense starting out, though. So sorry.
Well,
continue.
That's part of the fun. That's part of the fun too.
What have we not hit so far? Who have we not talked about?
The only one I had, well, you did have Gambit on your list. I didn't have them on mine to like cast. But then the other one was Mystique.
I really liked Rebecca Rumjin. She was the one from the original trilogy. I liked her a lot. I liked her better than the newer. What's her name? Jay.
Okay, I might be really wrong on this, which I probably am. I felt like at one point someone said, because I only saw the 3 first movies, so maybe I missed something. Didn't like Jennifer Lawrence play her at some point?
Jennifer Lawrence plays in the newer ones. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was saying. J Law is what I was trying to think of.
Okay.
But yeah, she did okay, but she doesn't have the acting chops. I don't know. Personal opinion. I don't think she's the right character to play that.
I didn't have someone offhand for fan casting because I kind of forgot about her until I saw her on your list, and I was like, "Oh, that's right, she's kind of a main person."
Yeah. So I would love her to just bring back the same one from the original trilogy. I think she did great. I think she was terrifying with those green eyes. I think it was great. And Gambit, you talked about.
Yes.
Channing Tatum. Only Channing Tatum. That's the only person. Oh, that's Magic Mike. That's Magic.
I might know him. I just got to see what did you say his last name was?
Tatum. Tattum. But they were supposed to have a Gambit movie, and it was like greenlit, and then they cut it off before it started. But yeah, he was supposed to play him already.
He'd do a good job. He kind of looks cool for the part.
Yeah, I don't know how good his Cajun accent is, though. That's the only thing I'm worried about, and was worried about 8 years ago when they teased the property. So, when you're talking that Cajun accent, you're gonna be talking.
I feel like
right around them crabs, and you go around and you play them. Yeah,
trying to find people that fit very Pacific accents, though, but can also have the acting chops to pull off the part is got to be one of the harder parts about being a casting director.
Probably so. Yeah. I don't know who you'd pick as a. Damn it, what's his name? I can't think of it. Anyways, trying to pick somebody that can do a Cajun accent. Like, that was my best attempt at a Cajun accent, but I only lived in South of Lafayette for 3 years, so that's like as best I can do. So you got to either get somebody that lives there or is a much better actor than me who's been there for 3 years.
Are you saying that you're not going to audition for the part?
I'm not going to audition for the part. I'd love to just throw cards at people. Yeah. But Gambit also, I don't think Gambit plays a huge role, at least in the storyline that's coming up. So I do think there's going to be that rumor where time runs out and everything gets restarted, and then you get the X-Men. I'm curious which way they're going to go with it. So, do you have all of the throwback characters up until the crisis happens, or do you start adopting newer characters before that happens?
That is going to be the interesting thing to see, especially with Deadpool 3 rolling out and knowing that some of these old characters are coming back, at least for like a scene or two. How are they going to balance bringing in the old and the new? How are you going to transition? I'm struggling to see how it's going to work. Like, are all these younger versions or different versions of the X-Men coming in? Are they all from the same universe, or is everybody going to be coming in from all different places? All the different branches.
You see my Idrisil tree behind me? Yeah, this is our new
all the
timeline.
different branches of the multiverse.
Thanks to Loki, this is what we got going. So, yeah, I think we've got a lot of parallel universes. I think we've got a lot of like very opposite universes.
But like, we talked about the idea of like these characters, younger versions of them. Do you think they really
could exist
would all
at the same time? Right? You could have this branch and this branch. I don't know if I'm pointing correctly, but one of these is an older X-Men. One of these is the younger X-Men. So,
but do you think they will come from like all the younger X-Men that we might get coming to the MCU? Do you think they're all going to be from the same universe or timeline, or do you think they'll be from all over the place?
I think they'll pick and choose their people from each place. So, I mean, even in Days of Future Past, they could only send certain people's minds back, and they ended up choosing Logan. But they could basically rewind time only for certain people. So some of those people got killed. I think that's just what it's going to be. They're going to be like, all right, these are our strongest warriors. 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 We need to put them all together and see if we can prevent whatever it is. I don't think it's Kang. I think it's more than just Kang, but they'll all come together for that.
Could be like
Battle World.
I don't think it's Doctor Doom either. I kind of think it's something a little bit bigger than that.
You're right. Yeah. So
I mean, it's probably like Galactus or something.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. But if you read Time Runs Out, you understand that there's like a bigger.
I don't think you can spoil it, because if you would have read the Secret Invasion run, you wouldn't have been spoiled by watching the Secret Invasion show. So, like, they obviously don't take
that was a steaming pile of
comics.
garbage that they made on the MCU. So we're
To
just
be
gonna
honest, the show
wipe that away.
The show Secret Invasion was not that bad. It's the disappointing
bad.
part was the disappointing part was it wasn't the Secret Invasion from the comics. That's why it was so bad.
But it
As a show by itself, if you didn't know anything and you just watched it, I mean, it wasn't like
good.
I don't know. I really didn't mind the storyline or the plot line. It was upsetting on so many levels because of what's happened before in the MCU. And it's upsetting on so many levels because I know where characters go and what happens in the comics. That's why it was more upsetting. But just as a show, like, I know people who are not up to date on Marvel, if they would sit down and watch it, they'd be like, I don't know, it was good action. Like, the harvest wouldn't have bothered them, like that concept of that. A lot of that stuff wouldn't have bothered some people who have no idea, because it's just a show that was just the plot line. It's more upsetting when you know what it should have been and it wasn't.
The best part about that show was them setting up that the new president is going to be against all aliens on this earth, which includes Asgard. So could maybe set up for the Siege of Asgard storyline, which I think is super interesting. But they also didn't address that in the Marvels. So we'll see. Oh, but you haven't seen Marvels yet, so
I feel like
we'll
I've
get
seen
your
it.
opinion shortly.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen it between all the trailers and the clips and like
just a little bit
of nitpicking.
I still think you're gonna love it. I still think
I think I'm gonna love it. I really hope I'm gonna love it, because at the very beginning of this year, Nick had asked us, he goes, okay, the 3 movies, shows are coming out. What are you most excited for? What's going to be,
claim that one
in your guess, the most rewatchable and the best thing that comes out this year? And I was kind of pushing hard on the Marvels because I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see it.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you're going to love it, actually. Whether it's the most rewatchable, I don't know about that one.
It's definitely going to be more rewatchable than Guardians. Guardians is really heavy.
Oh yeah, it's hard to watch because
it's just heavy. Like, if I'm just in a mood to watch a movie, I'm probably not going to pick Guardians 3, even though it might be a better movie in a far of a sense of like character arcs and like ending to a saga with the Guardians stuff. Like, it might be better in that sense. Way too heavy. It's not a movie I'm like, I just need a movie to watch. I'm not putting on Guardians 3. It's a little heavy.
Sure. Yeah, well, you're right. I think you will love this movie. Can't wait to hear your opinions on it whenever you actually make it up.
Hopefully in the next week here, I will be able to share my thoughts. Next week, we're going to be having our draft for the Marvel Fantasy League. So that will be coming soon.
You feeling confident? I think I'm feeling confident in winning this year, by the way.
I am not feeling very confident in it, like, at all, because I really don't know for sure what's going to be coming out for it. So that's going to be interesting next week when we do our draft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that kind of sums up our X-Men casting. That obviously they're not going to take any of our opinions on, though I think I nailed it on a couple of them personally, but that's just me. Do you have any last things you want to say about the X-Men?
I really want Mila Djokovic to be.
I think you're right, though. I think that'd be great casting.
Should be great.
I would still like to see Dylan O'Brien come in and play like the Iceman or another character like that. Personally, I think that would be a fun add-in.
Nothing about Joe Keery? You want to save him for something else?
I really thought about him for the Iceman. Yeah, because I really want to see him come into the MCU. I think he has a lot. I think he's growing as an actor, and I'm excited to see where he's going to go with his career. I just don't know if it's one of these characters is right.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess my opinion.
Well, same as you said with Sink Shade. I can't ever say her name correctly, but
wait, which one?
Stranger Things.
Sadie Sink.
Sadie Sink. I can never say her name correctly.
There's two S's. It's fine.
I think we need to save her for something else. So if they're not using her for X-23, I think they should use her for pretty much anything else.
I don't know what, but there's thousands of characters. There'll be a spot for them.
Yeah, there's a spot for everybody. Everyone come to the MCU, please.
Everyone come in. Okay, guys, I think that wraps up this week of Marvel Fans After Work. Please follow, like, and subscribe on our YouTube or wherever you're listening to this. And we'll see you next week for our Marvel Fantasy Draft.
See you next week.